But the spring game was kind of how this spring has been. It's such a young team that, and then I think there's some eccentric, real jovial, and interesting people on this team, just very opposite of me. And so I think sometimes when the spots, when we have the either the meetings or the practices or the classes or the tests and the times that are in between, I with the youth and just with that that kind of personality piece, I get a little nervous, and it's really just me because any time that we've asked them to do something, they've done it and they've knocked it out. And I thought, the previous two scrimmages, anytime that we're kind of out and about and we're at an award show, or we've got there's this charity thing we're doing, or any of that, they've just really been above par. And so I'm proud of the team. There's a lot of growth still to take place, I think, but we're on the right track, and I think I have identified the right fights to fight. I thought the O-line, D-lines really were the big takeaway for me. I thought offensively, the push and the finish of some drives that had some plays, you know, um, plays in them. And then I thought defensively, there were some big plays with knockback and pressure in the pocket and that. Thought the young receivers continued to impress. I think Dallas Baker's done a great job in spring and has really made a connection. I think our boys are playing for him. I thought quarterbacks were strong as well. I thought, there would be one good drive and be followed up with another good drive, so you could feel that competition, and I appreciate that. I thought that running backs, there was good things. I thought in the second half it was improved, after kind of a halftime settle down and adjustment and that. I think, in terms of areas, really just growth and things that we can improve overall, I think special teams is one that comes to mind. I think we got a lot of youth that are in some spots, and we've got a new coordinator as well, and Ronnie's doing great, and he's going to be great with it. But I just think some of the things that went on today was maybe the third or fourth or maybe second or whatever time that they've done that, and it looked like that. And so we've got to continue to invest there and grow there. I think the team that we're going to be requires all three sides of it to play at a real high level, and so we'll continue to get better there. But take any questions you guys got.
Yeah, Dave, how's the competition between Blake and Gary gone throughout the spring, and do you expect to name a starter by the end of spring?
I appreciate the question. It has been a back and forth one. I think, if you look at like a Tuesday practice to a Thursday practice, there's usually a move being made. And then you get to Saturdays and it's on from the beginning to the end. And so you appreciate that just about, when you look at Gary and then you look at Blake and just their ability to, want all the reps and then not take them and then really be intentional to make the most of the ones that they got. I mean, I know that's difficult to do, and I appreciate them doing it. And when the times that they're not on, they're encouraging and all of it. And so I think today, man, there's really good decisions being made. It's a 2-high shell. It goes to 3-high. I'm working that side of the field. It's a 2-high shell. It stays 2-high. I'm working this other side of the field. Knowing which O-line they were with and how quickly I got to get the ball out, knowing who's on the other D-line, all those, there's a bunch of things. There's a fair amount of layers today, and I thought they were able to kind of go back and forth with all of that, and then, compete within the series, with the other guy, and so I was impressed with that. but do want to be able to make a decision. And so we've got one-on-one meetings. I'll meet with everyone on the team starting on Monday. And so when we get to the quarterbacks, we'll review this film and talk with the coaches and Grimes and Sean for sure, and then we'd like to make a decision.
You have a pretty good idea right now?
I don't, and I think if I did, I probably couldn't say it here, but it's been a strong competition, and I think the fight with those guys, I'm impressed, and the way they've handled the fight is probably the most impressive thing.
Dave, from the first day to now, you mentioned the receivers. Do you feel like that group may have made the biggest progress from first day of camp to now?
Probably so. I think, probably so. I think the receivers, there's such talent there, and there's such big playability that a lot of times what comes with that is, bright lights, big things, big events, and little details, daily grind, everything matters. All of those things kind of can be difficult to address. And so I think it probably started that way, and as the spring went on, the grind was better, the details became sharper, and I look at Dallas and just the work he's done, and just the connections he's making, and the trust that he's building. And so you got Monterey, Baldwin, Seth Jones, Josh Cameron, Javon Gibson, Gavin Holmes. A lot of these guys are just really playing hard, so it's really cool to see.
Dave, there's a couple of guys in particular who battled injuries who we saw out there today. And Gavin, who you just mentioned, and also Squirrel Williams. Can you just kind of speak to the journey that those two have been on? And Gavin even mentioned that he got here in 2017. This was his first spring game, so he enjoyed that. But can you just speak to their journey?
Yeah, I love those guys. I think I'll say this: my daughter has had ACL surgery, so she had it a week ago, and she's kind of up and around now, but on her crutches and all of it. She was kind of on the couch and everything for a while, but it's like when you take for granted just being healthy, and when you're injured, I mean things like walking across to the side of the room, or using the restroom, using the shower, any of those things are like major events. Like that's the thing of the day, and so and then it's so much more mental than physical. All right, there's pain, and there's rehab, and there's all of it, but it's just the mental piece of kind of we talk about the levels of learning, and there's like a pit that most young guys go through in terms of I'm picking up stuff, coach is saying this, coach is saying that, and when your confidence is kind of shaken and your kind of identity is in conflict, you're in a pit. And it's dark down there, and you can't fight your way out the pit, and there's a vulnerability that's got to be addressed, and all that stuff comes up when you're injured. And it's almost to the point where if someone hasn't been injured and someone has, I mean, there's a major difference there in terms of how they move and how they see things. And so a lot of appreciation for Gavin. He's in the leadership council. He's a leader of that group. And it's one of those things where there's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders because of his veteran status, but he's played less than the younger guys that are there. And so for him to be a leader and then still have that learning mindset of he's still trying to figure it out, I think it says a lot about him and his character, because I think he could shy away from the leadership part, or he could act out on the other side of it. But, he's mentoring the younger guys and then right there learning with them. And so good things are ahead of him. He's doing everything right. And then who else did you say? You said Squirrel. Yeah, so Squirrel, look, one of the hard things with Squirrel is that when, just being injured last year and new offensive staff coming in, and Squirrel, when you're injured, you're going through, you're struggling because you're not involved and you're in it, but you're not, and a team's winning and you want to feel part of, but you're on the outside of it. And so I think, there can be emotions and good days and bad days and everything. And then, I just remember, trying to get across or trying to communicate offensive staff-wise is that, Squirrel is our most electric guy, right? We've got a lot of speed, and I think we've all seen that in the last couple months with our fellows that are about to get drafted. But really, Squirrel's as electric as any of them. And I think for them, the offensive staff guys, they had never seen it. They had only seen someone that was struggling with being injured. And so I just think, from the player's perspective, I think that scenario all over the place, all over the country happens a lot. And it makes it difficult. And it's just another thing they have to battle. And I don't think there's any ill intention or ill will or ill this. It's just, it's tough to see the person. And so I think for him to kind of continue to build and offensively for them to build packages and roles for him, it's just way cool to kind of all see it kind of come together. And we're hoping that, Squirrel has the season that, we all want him to have.
Dave, as far as the defense, you've obviously lost some key guys, but do you see a lot of guys out there who've got a lot of experience or maybe to step into some of those leadership roles?
I think that is a major piece for our improvement. I think, there's some of the leadership that we have right now on the team are guys that can play football really, really well, and then maybe off the field are still struggling to have the accountability and responsibility that we want them to. And so I think, we'd like to be able to get those both really high standards on both sides of it. And I think defensively especially, I think that's the challenge. And I think, if it stays where it's at, the concern's going to be all the road games that are ahead and all the tough environments that we're going to walk into, and we're playing the opponent, I'm sure in a game they've had circled on their thing. We're playing them and we're playing us because emotions are taking over, or because, the outside's kind of affecting the inside. And so I think that piece is a major piece on defense. Yeah, and we were able to have that last year, but really we didn't really kind of get to where you felt we're making some progress until the summertime with that. And so we're kind of doing it again.
Looking at the guys, obviously, NFL draft this week, those, I guess the holes that they left behind, the players they talked about, guys being really eager to step into that new role. So what's that like, just, seeing, your former players leave that mark and just seeing so much hunger from, the younger guys and other players wanting to step in?
No, I appreciate that. I think last year's group, the issue was really belief with a lot of those guys. I thought, they had success before, and it was a whole other way of doing it. I think, the whole different personality and whole different kind of, they're thinking like this is like chicken soup for the soul, and they're going like, what's going on? You're not going to win with this stuff, And so I think to kind of get past that was the challenge, and to get the leadership to get past that and see that, or rather see it, that you can win like that was the issue. And I think this year, I think there's a belief in everything, but I think it's just human nature when you're playing, but you're not looked at as the guy, and the guy's in front of you, and there's there's the light is on him, and so there's now a shadow on you. So maybe you're less seen, and we're winning, and you're having success, and you're having the all of this, but you're not kind of the face of it, and you don't have the accountability of it. I mean, that's pretty good, it can be. And so now to kind of get out of the shadow and get into the light where it's everything is you're accountable, I think that's human nature. I think that's just hard to do. And so I think, we'll have guys that say it and nod their head and want to be that guy, but to be that guy, that's still in progress for sure.
What do you think of Jackson, player out there, and how has he gotten acclimated with the team? I mean, has that been a pretty easy process in terms of integrating him in, coming from the portal?
Yes, I appreciate that. I think, he has been a quick learner. I think, he originally was going to come in and play some end, and has done some of that, but played a fair amount of nose, and has really made plays from that position. Our ability to get into five-man fronts and give him a one-on-one block, their five versus ours. I think Jackson's really been effective in that. And then I think, school-wise has attacked it. I think we started slow. I think, the rigor and everything academically was a thing, and he was able to adjust midstream and is really finishing strong. So happy and proud of him. But I think, his ability to add to the defense and just give us depth, and then give us the ability to, to have a change of pace. You go 5-on-5, our front versus an O-line front, and Apu's in there. There's a certain, strength. There's a fastball there for sure, and there's a curve that I think has some, that is a confident pitch to throw. But I think, when you have Jackson in there, it's a different repertoire, man. So you can get in that same front. And now the movement piece for sure is the fastball. And then the change is the knockback, which is the opposite of Apu. And so I think there's a lot to be said for that. And so I think we got a chance to be pretty good up front. And he's a major part of that.
Dave, as good as this defense was last year, is there a different dynamic, maybe it is the front, that could make this group even better than what you had last year?
Well, I appreciate the question. There has to be a lot of growth in I think D-line wise, just the continued maturity. And then I think linebacker wise, I think there's still, it's Matt Jones, Josh White's going to hop on board. Garmin Randolph missed a fair amount of spring. And so I think there's still guys that incredibly talented in terms of where they're at and their fit and kind of how they, I think that how they handle disappointment, how they handle working really hard for something and it doesn't happen, and you're still out on the field and there's another play that's got to be run, and what's that going to look like? I think those are all things that are really kind of the things. They're the connectors to the wins and losses and all the stuff that, I think we all see or pay attention to. And so there's a lot of work there. And then I think secondary-wise, just the youth and, the continued being put into hard spots and being put on islands. And so that, there's a feeling of these guys are being tested and they've got to overcome, I think, to build a confidence. Because I think there's an eagerness there in that group. And I think last year we played with a confidence in the back end. And so still work to do.
Hey, are you free to talk about Josh White? Can you talk about, has he cleared through the admissions and all that stuff?
I believe he is, yeah.
Thoughts on bringing him on board and obviously the previous relationship you guys had?
Yeah, so, with Josh, it's, I was a primary recruiter for Josh, and, the high school he was at, I remember the front desk, and I'm getting my sticker on my shirt to walk through the school, and she would be bragging on Josh White, and I would walk through, and they'd walk me past the cafeteria, and the ladies that were working in there would brag on Josh White, and I get to the coach, and it'd be the same thing, and he was just running track, and he's coming in, and we're visiting with him. It's just so impressive. And I just think the type of person he is, the thing that draws you right away is, I just remember recruiting him there. It's just that, he could be a captain at some point. And, meeting his mom and his family and all of it, it was something that left a mark on me. At a lot of the time there, I would come in late at the end of recruiting, and I was never really, if anything, I would blow the save, but I would try to, come in at the end. But I think the guys that generally I'd been on from the beginning were all kind of guys that would fit here, and so for sure he's one of them. But smart, athletic, is a guy that can blitz, guy that can cover, and I think he's got, everything's hooked up right in terms of kind of knowing that he's coming in, having to earn stuff and get to know people, and ID the culture here and be him within it, and so excited for what he can bring. I think special teams will be will be benefited by him for sure too.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate y'all.
Bryson, can you kind of go through what happened on the interception return, what you saw out there?
Oh yes, so we had it was boot, so I had to read run first, and I dropped to the hash, and when I dropped to the hash, I had the receiver coming from the backside. He was motioning, and he came to the flats. So when I saw him, I had to pick him up because that was my final three player, and I guess he was anticipating me coming a little bit, so he tried to look before catching the ball, and the ball went out of his hands. So I just saw it, and I just thought about grabbing it and just doing the best I could to run and to get yards and make a play. That's it.
What about the defense just overall? How'd you feel like you guys played today?
I think we did good today. I think Green had a great day today. The Gold also had a great day. We had a lot of reps. I feel like guys executed well. We have a lot of young guys, and that was the big thing coming into the end of spring, is just to get everybody on the same page. And I feel like today that was a big piece, and even though it was hot, I think guys executed the best they could, and it's going to allow us to continue to get better. So it's a great start for us going into the summer, because we're going to basically reinstall everything again, and I feel like that's going to benefit us coming up in the fall.
Bryson, there's kind of a different mentality when you're trying to get somewhere when you have been somewhere. Obviously, you guys had success last year, but this is a different team now. Do you feel like guys have kind of successfully reset the mentality as far as the hunger and the work that it takes to get back to where y'all were in January?
Yes, sir. It's really just about forging a culture, and when it comes down to it, last year was last year's team, and this year is this year's team. So we have to do the best that we can to re-implement everything that we were taught last year in this same position. And because we are young, that is also very important. So it's really just a process. And I feel like we're at a position right now to where I think we're a little better than we were last year at this point, but we're going to continue to get better in the summer. And I feel like the maturity piece is going to come in the summer, just getting put in hard situations. And like today was something that put us in a position to where we can continue to get better. And I feel like it was a great opportunity for everybody. So I think we're in a good spot.
The light turned on for you sometime towards the end of last year, because Coach Aranda brought that up. What happened? Is it just more snaps, more opportunities, or you just gained confidence? How did that happen?
Just being a team player. I think seeing guys like Terrell, Petrie, and Abram, and everybody that we see now, Taekwon, those guys work extremely hard. And for me, it's just, the simple principle of playing hard for the team and giving up pieces of myself for the benefit of the team. I think that is what allowed me to make the plays that I made last year. But, for me, it's just simple. If you do your job and you continue to focus and strive every day, then things will open up for you. So I just completely bought in last year, and that's bringing me to where I'm at now.
Bryson, do you think a bunch of guys are kind of ready to step in leadership roles, with Terrell, Petey gone?
Yes, those guys set a standard, and I feel like everybody wants to be what they were. And I feel like there's a lot of guys on the team now, especially young guys that are trying, and it's great to see. But the guys that are in leadership position right now, we're trying to get that unity together so that we can trust each other and back each other up. And I feel like it's going well. It's going real well. And as far as leadership, I think it's going to take guys like me and guys like Gavin, guys like Dylan, continue being vocal, and to imprint that culture that Coach Aranda speaks so much about and Macro speaks about. So
Sometimes it's hard when you can't or don't settle on one position. But do you like that versatility to be able to go outside, inside? I guess you were mainly an inside linebacker today.
yes, so it's just a vision thing. So I see so much, and kind of now at this point, I know a lot about defense and a lot about offense, and that was a process and a journey for me, and since I've been here. So being able to help as much as I can is important, and I feel like with my athletic ability and my speed, I could be a valuable piece if I just buy in or just do the simple things better, and that is important. So yes.
Anything else? Thanks, Bryce.
Yeah, Gavin, how'd you feel like the offense performed today? Were y'all pretty crisp, or how did that go, do you think?
I think for the most part we were pretty crisp. We had a lot of guys make plays. That was cool, but Coach Grimes just reiterated to us that we still got a lot of work to do, and I completely agree with him. But I think it was cool to come out and see guys make plays. So.
How much progress do you think did you see the offense make in those 15 practice days?
Yeah, I think we came a long way, especially speaking for the receiver room. I think we've made huge jumps. It was just really cool, especially me being the old head in the group, just to see the young guys go out there and see them develop and see them make plays. It's really cool, and I think as an offense, we just grew a lot. We came together, and we're starting to figure it out. So,
Who are the guys that you saw step up in that room?
We got a lot of guys: Josh Cameron, Seth Jones, Monterey, Javon. And those are just naming a few, but like I said, we've seen everybody in the room make progress. And like I said, it's just cool for me to just sit back and kind of watch them grow and develop. It's really cool.
Obviously, Josh came here as a walk-on. What have you seen from him this spring that it seems like he's really made a jump?
Yeah, he's made a huge jump. He's been a big time player in our room. He always does the right stuff. And he's very meticulous about how he plays, and he's always eager to learn. And he's a good dude. He's a really good teammate, and I'm glad he's in our room.
Gavin, what's it like for you right now just to get out there and play and kind of continue your journey that's had a lot of tough times?
Yeah, that was my first spring game since I've been here that I played in. So it was fun, man. I feel really blessed, and I'm just kind of soaking it all in. Like I'm a freshman again, so it's fun to go out there and play, especially with the guys, so.
Gavin, what's going to be important for you guys in these 2 months before camp, right before fall camp starts? What the rest of that receiver room have to do so you'll be ready when it gets going?
I think just continuing to, stay fresh, stay on top of the playbook, make sure we're staying in shape, making sure we're staying together, especially with our group and the offense as a whole. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing for us, is just to make sure that we don't lose all the progress that we've made this spring, whether that's by, just getting together when we come back in the summer, making sure we're all on top of the playbook, making sure we're getting with quarterbacks, throwing, keeping that chemistry right. So I think that's the biggest thing for us.
What's it been like for you to see the quarterback competition? Do you feel like they've been bringing out the best in each other?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's it's just cool because they're both balling. They were both balling all spring, and so I think it's a good problem to have when you have two quarterbacks who are top tier quarterbacks like that, just going at it. You can send one in, and you're not going to lose a step when you send the other in. So I think that's really cool, and it's good for us receivers. So.
Gavin, obviously there's a lot of guys that people know that are gone now off to the pros or whatever. What have you seen as far as the leadership gap? And have you seen guys yourself, even being a veteran, have you kind of raised y'all's level as far as being leaders?
Yeah, so I think that was one of the biggest things that I needed to work on this spring, was just being more vocal and coming out and just being more of a leader, just showing these young guys, being an example, showing them how it's done. And I think we've even had some young guys who have just kind of stepped up and kind of used their voice, and just you can tell like they're just confident. And I think that's a big thing, especially when it comes to leadership. These guys are confident. They're out there playing, they're out there making plays. And when they speak, people listen. And I think that's a big thing for our room right now. Is just everybody has a chance to lead in our room. I think, and I don't think there's not like just one set guy who just leads the whole thing. So I think that everybody in our room definitely has a chance to step up and lead. So.
Gavin, this would kind of be your first year in Grimes' offense. I mean, I know you were around last year, but what are your thoughts about just the offensive system and how it works?
Yeah, I love the offense. I love playing in this offense. There's a lot to it. There's always new, formations, new ways to line up in the formation, motions, things like that. So I really like the diversity of the offense. And I think it's fun to be in because there's so many different spots where you can line up and run the same play, and just you can make two different plays look the same. And so I think that's a big thing for our offense, and that's what makes our offense so dynamic.
Anything else? Thanks, Gavin.